What's up, dudes? Misha from Periphery here, and we are standing with my Peavey Invective 120 head. This is something that I've been working on for a while. We've kind of been refining it, and it's here at NAMM 2018. For those of you who don't know what this is my sort of amp where I get to have it all. So it's a wonderful high gain amp. The high gain channels 2 and 3 were kind of based off the old 5150 block letter, but we tweaked it quite a bit. But those of you who know that amp know that it didn't really have much of a clean channel. So the clean channel on this amp is just unreal. In fact, it's so good that like what I've been doing lately at home is just running pedal board with all my gain stages and everything just into the clean channel. And that works shockingly well. The other thing with this amp is that I was able to put all the features I'd ever want. It's like I tell people, if you ever get the opportunity to design an amp, you say yes, and then you can kind of custom make it exactly the way you want. So I was always putting a noise gate and a boost of some kind in front of the amp, you know, to kind of give it that more aggressive front end sound. And we have a gate and a boost built in to channels 2 and 3. We also have an overdrive of a different style built into the clean channel for that sort of spanky push clean tone. On the back we also have 2 FX loops. They're both serial FX loops, and they're in sequence. And there's also 2 power supplies, because I found myself actually like plugging, say, like the Strymon Big Sky and Timeline into the back, and then you can actually just power them off the amp. And because everything's MIDI, you could even change the patches via the included MIDI foot switch that comes with the amp. So it's like all the FX loop stuff could just sit on the amp and not be on your pedal board. So it's all stuff that I kind of designed like just by using it at home, being like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if I had that. Other kind of cool features is that it's got a master volume, so you can actually change the character of the crunch and lead sounds a lot by the ratio of channel volume to master volume. For example, if you run these very high and the master volume lower, it'll be very full, rich, mid-rangey, and you get more air and more top end if you actually run these lower and run the master volume higher. So it's a great tone shaping tool. And I mean, there's so many features on this amp, I'm probably gonna forget something, but one thing that is kind of cool as well is it's got built-in MSDI. So that's just a DI out. It's not really for recording, but it's for live use. So say you're playing a show, you don't have a sound guy, and you just want to make sure that they get like a pretty solid signal. You just feed them that rather than having them try to mic up the cab and not do a great job. So it's kind of designed for all things from recording, jamming, playing, studio work, whatever you want, you know?
You're a guy who can have anything, you know. Why Peavey?
Because that's a great question. I found myself just using I have an older block letter, like, and that's the model I use on the Axe effects. And it was just, I've always gravitated. There's something about those amps, like the old Peavey 5150s and the 6505s, where they sit really, really well in a mix, especially in a metal mix. And I actually have a theory about it. It's because so many albums have used it that I think I just kind of associate it with like metal tone, right? But there is something really magical about the way it sits. I remember like earlier on, like I had all these like crazy boutique amplifiers, and like I was talking, I think, I was talking to someone and they were saying like, you know, like the best amps 5150, and they showed me a shootout, and like it was the best one, like, and they had like diesel VH4 and all this crazy stuff, and I was so disappointed because I wanted all the expensive stuff to work better. The only other way I can describe it is like how like a 57 on a vintage 30 always works for metal, even though it's like 2 really weird, you know, pieces of gear that are kind of faulty, but it's just what we associate with it. So that's what made me gravitate. Long story short, that is like why I gravitated, because it's what I was always kind of going for. And when I would use anything else, I'd always just try to make it sound kind of like that. And then from there we could tweak it and give it sort of a modern edge, you know?
Most people never have the chance to design anything of their own. What do you think is the biggest challenge in capturing the sound that you want?
You know, I think what I learned is like how many things can affect the tone. Like I used to think like, oh, like you want to change the tone, like mess with the tubes or whatever like that. But like when I learned how much of a difference like just tweaking the output transformer can make, like changing the tubes may yield like, you know, 1-2% difference in tone, but that will drastically change the sound of your amp. And being able to play around with that was like, it was really cool, but then you kind of get option paralysis, like, oh, do I go this way or that way? So the engineer I worked with, John Fields, was a great sort of balance. He's a genius, and he was great at sort of like bringing everything together in a way where I had some context and just being a bouncing board for the ideas, so that we could actually make progress instead of just going off into space with everything, you know?